So what we're going to do today, folks, when Jim gets here is we've been charged with a big question. And you guys are scientists. When you do your science, you start with a question, right? Either run an experiment or do a simulation. Our question is, see this equation up here? Dell and EMC and HPC. EMC squared is probably, that's one of the most famous equations of all time. But we're going to try to resolve what this equals today. And that's our goal. Yeah, what do you think?
Are you addressing that to me?
Yeah.
Because I'm not smarter than an AI. Well, seriously, I think the issue here is there's so much that's going on in the industry.
Yes.
Companies being acquired, people moving around. The big thing with the Dell EMC merger is that Dell now has end-to-end solutions, and it's been doing a lot of very good stuff in HPC since Ed and Jim joined. And they make really good hardware. They've really turned the focus on customers and solutions, but now they've got the full end to really smart storage as well. And of course, the software layers, and particularly important, the customer outreach, the customer focus. So, I think that is something that there's an awful lot of promise there, and I think we're going to see Dell fulfill it this year and going forwards.
Okay. Well, I think, why don't we do the introductions for the folks here. Peter, what is your name and what is your quest?
Well, my name is Peter ffoulkes. I've sort of kicked around this industry in various capacities with large companies, small companies, startups, and a couple of ventures as an industry analyst. What is my quest? To intelligence and beyond.
Oh, okay. But I thought maybe for this week, you could narrow it down a bit.
To drink Squatters Dry.
Okay, yeah, Squatters Pub, highly recommended. Ed, can you grab the mic? Ed, what is your name and what is your quest?
So I'm Ed Turkel. My title is HPC strategist at Dell EMC.
Yeah.
My quest, other than enjoying the fun of working in this really remarkable industry that we're in of HPC. And then beyond that is, of course, the endless search for the perfect Pinot Noir.
Perfect.
And I'm Dan Olds. I'm with OrionX. I'm an industry analyst and have been for about the past 15 years. I'm also write the HPC blog for the Register. Anybody ever read the Register? Well, if you did, and you searched for me, then I would be there.
Yeah?
Also doing a lot with the student cluster competition here.
Okay, it looks like we have a substitute
A
panelist.
last-minute substitute.
Yeah, or you just wanted to sit down. What is your name and what is your quest?
What is my name and my quest? My name is Peter Lillian. I'm actually from Nvidia. As you know, we're looking a lot at artificial intelligence.
Yeah.
A last-minute invitation to the panel. So.
Oh, this is very timely because we have a surprise fifth panelist today. It's Alexa.
Oh, good.
Yay! So careful what you volunteer for, there, Peter.
Right.
So. All right. Well, great. We're going to get started. So as I said at the beginning, my name is Rich Brueckner. I have a site called insideHPC. I write about this space every day. I have that privilege. And I've been coming to this for 26 years or something. But I want to talk about this idea of confluence to set off this panel. Because when we try to resolve what Dell EMC HPC is all about, this is the idea that came to me. It's really about like two rivers coming together, right? But what does that mean? And I'm hoping we're going to resolve that today. And I'm going to keep coming back to this idea. You folks know what Alexa is. It's a box from Amazon, right? And it just sits in your kitchen table and you ask it questions where it plays music for you. But it's all voice operated. And this conference, as we've been saying, is all about deep learning, machine learning, coming together with HPC in that confluence idea. And I thought, boy, there's millions of these things out there already. And in fact, Alexa software is being incorporated in everything from watches to your car radio. So I thought, okay, let's invite it. The thing is, it hasn't been quite perfected, and I think we'll figure that out very soon. What is it that we want to do here, right? We want to solve problems. And we start with a question. So we're going to have a one procedural rule today. When I ask you a question, you can answer it, right? Then please respond after that, a question for Alexa, so she doesn't feel left out. So what I want to do is start out with opening statements, because Peter, you just got here and walked into this Comic Fest. Why don't you tell us a little bit more about your quest this week and what you see happening out there? What are you observing in HPC in this confluence with deep learning?
Sure. So big thing we see from an Nvidia perspective, GPUs are at a tipping point. They're everywhere. Everybody's talking about them. They're everywhere that you see out there. The other big thing we're seeing from customers as well is if you're investing in and you're looking at putting into an HPC infrastructure, you're putting into data analytics, you need to keep in mind the data scientists out there as well, because it's always going to come out. Even today, as it's growing in a growing marketplace and the requirements for those data scientists is growing, you need to keep that in mind when you're designing and putting in an HP infrastructure. Okay, make sure that it takes advantage of how to do deep learning, artificial intelligence, and that includes both networking, storage, as well as your acceleration and your computational side there as well.
Do you have a question for Alexa? You're our first guinea pig here.
First question for Alexa.
Yeah.
What temperature is it outside?
Little latency on Alexa. I'm blaming Cynet. I'm sticking with that story.
In Ashburn, it's 61 degrees with cloudy skies. Tonight, you can look for just a few clouds in the sky, with a low of 43 degrees.
Anyone know where Ashburn is? We got any?
North Carolina?
Where? Virginia. Okay, so well, you know, Cynet is bouncing from Virginia to here. Well, that's okay. Well, that'll explain a lot.
It's 8 temperatures.
All right, Ed, it's your turn. We could give him the mic. Ed, what are you observing here this week with this confluence that I was talking about? And when it comes to Dell EMC, of course.
Well, certainly this is a bit of our coming out party in HPC for Dell EMC. And you know, for us, the big story is with the combination of two leaders in the HPC market, you know, we believe that with the breadth of our portfolio, with the breadth of the expertise and experience that we bring to the HPC market, and the focus on solving our customers' most challenging problems, we think that this is kind of brave new world of what we're going to be able to do in this market moving forward. So this is, in a sense, really just the start. And so it is also a bit of a birthday. So, you know, happy birthday to us. And oh, hey, it's always your birthday. How is that possible? But you know, again, we think we're bringing together a tremendous amount of capabilities, only a handful of which we're demonstrating here in the booth. You know, it was a big deal for us simply to have a booth that had Dell EMC on the name rather than a Dell booth and an EMC booth. And demonstrating in the booth capabilities from the breadth of what we bring to the market, of traditional, if you will, legacy Dell products, legacy EMC products, as well as our brethren from VMware, all under one umbrella, all as one team, again, focused on solving the most challenging problems in the world.
Oh, great. We have Jim Ganthier has joined us.
And we have Jim making a a quiet, surreptitious. So I have a question for Alexa.
Okay, hang on. What is your question for Alexa? I'll have to repeat it. Go ahead.
So I've been on a spiritual quest, so I will ask Alexa, what is the meaning of life?
Ooh, okay. Alexa, what is the meaning of life? As we wait patiently for the Cynet to deliver the answer, here it comes. Yeah, well, that one would take a head scratch or two, I would guess. Boy, it's processing, Ed. I think you may have melted Hal on the other end of this.
The answer is 42, but the question is more complicated.
Perfect.
Oh, I couldn't have written a better one.
The correct answer. I'm impressed.
All right. That was not scripted, folks.
Well played.
Yeah, well played. So Jim, we went around and introduced ourselves. The question to you is, what is your name and what is your quest?
Simple. So my name is Jim Ganthier, and I have the pleasure and privilege of leading both the HPC and the validated solutions teams at Dell.
Okay. Now we're going to change gears here a little bit. You missed the opening part, but Peter here is an analyst, and as well as Dan, and they've just done some research on 3 areas: interconnects, GPUs, and storage. So they've got a wealth of new data that hasn't really been shared with the world. Do you have a question for one of these analysts in those areas?
Absolutely. So for both,
We get to question you back.
that's okay. Actually, that's what makes our product and our solutions better, is the fact that we share and collaborate. So a lot of folks haven't really grok the idea that in the past, even though we've done really well from an HPC perspective, as a matter of fact, we're now officially #1, but as Dell EMC, the types of assets, the types of innovation, including a lot of what you see here, we're going to be able to bring to bear. What advice and counsel would you give us as the newly formed Dell EMC in regards to our portfolio?
Specifically on your portfolio, I'm going to have to look a lot closer at that and probably make you pay me to tell you.
No, Dan, you are under contract. You said you'd do this for an
Just
hour.
saying. Well, no, but there's other stuff. But actually, what I would do is, I think you need to concentrate and continue to concentrate on what the real customer needs, what the end customer needs, not architectures, not fluff, not marketing buzzwords, but what they're actually doing, and being as close to the customer as possible. That always pays off. And the more you can, and the more you can do that, the better.
Peter Foulkes, do you have something to add to that?
Sure. There's so much changing in HPC now. A couple of years ago, as a colleague of mine said, HPC is boring right now because it was all iterative sort of vendor stuff. This year, everything's changed. The whole world is changing. We've got new alignments of vendors. We've got new technologies coming down the pike. We've got this big shift in storage, especially to solid state storage. We've got new systems really focused on things like burst buffers to accelerate things, and those sorts of areas, I believe, are really going to be where the puck is going to. And I think the exciting thing here is to look at, when we get the new memory architectures coming in, completely re-architecting systems, how those can apply to all of the customer areas, and what sort of systems we'll be using at the end of the decade. And that's what I think organizations like Dell EMC, et cetera, are focusing on, but really should be focusing on, because the world will be very different. So for Alexa...
Oh, okay, hang on. Say Alexa first, and maybe it'll hear you. Go ahead.
Alexa, who's going to get to Mars first, Jeff Bezos or Elon Musk?
A predictive tool. Crunching from the other side. From Virginia back to here.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question I heard.
Okay, all right. Well, I have a question for Peter Lillian. Can you offer these guys advice? You're a partner, right? And you're seeing all this stuff going on. What would you say to Jim's question?
I wholeheartedly agree with Dan. It's basically keep an eye on what the end customer is doing, focus on what the customer needs are. You guys have already done a great job from a solutions perspective, but targeting what the needs are, filling in those gaps, and providing a, so I can completely blank here. From a consultative perspective, basically be a trusted advisor. That's where I'm going with it, to the customers, and going beyond just the hardware side of things, and making sure that they solve their problems, come to you for solutions, and not for, I would like to go buy a laptop stuff. And you guys have done a good job of getting to that point as well, but continuing down that path. You guys have been great partners.
Okay, Dana. Boy, they're very close with their partners, and it's nice. It's nice. Say, Dan, if you could get the mic there, can you tell us about this GPU study you did on insideHPC and kind of get us situated, and maybe tell us some of the results?
Well, don't have them right off the top of my head. A little warning would have been great for that. And you'd have some charts and some slides and all that.
No slides allowed.
No slides. But it's not any surprise to anybody that this is an accelerated world. And I think close to 400 workloads have now been accelerated through GPUs, maybe a little higher, over 400. And we're seeing in our research great uptake from an HPC survey that we did recently. I do have a few numbers at the top of my head. 40% of the customers that we talked to have embraced GPUs wholeheartedly. And out of those, close to 80% are saying they get great benefit from them, which was one of the highest things we've ever tested in terms of new technology. So it's really catching on. It's, of course, not too late to get on the bandwagon. And there are plenty of opportunities to it, with GPUs being both easily obtainable, but you can also kick the tires in the clouds now, which is pretty cool. Kick the tires up there, decide if it's something you need, then probably move it on premises.
All right, Ed, you just heard some really good news, I think, about GPUs. what is new from Dell EMC in that area, from product side of things?
Well, so there's a great deal that's new, and it's not only on the product. Again, it rolls all the way through to the solutions. So we're highlighting a number of things from a product standpoint here at the event. We're talking, of course, with our great technology partner Nvidia. We're talking about new systems based on the Nvidia Tesla P100 GPUs. Right behind where we're sitting, this wall behind us, we're highlighting a Dell PowerEdge C4130 server, which is just about in a week or two available with P100 GPUs installed. We're highlighting the applications that are running on them. So a couple of tables behind that, we're showing a great example of a machine learning solution that was actually developed in a partnership between Dell EMC, Nvidia, and our great customer, the University of Pisa in Italy. And this is a great example of one of those kinds of solutions that can help change people's lives. You know, I like to say HPC, isn't about, life and death. It's more important than that. Here's an example, a medical example, where we're using a machine learning example looking at crystallography images of DNA. Learning with 500,000 images, comparing the image against the corresponding DNA structure. A researcher can then give it a new image from some crystallography of a sample of DNA, and the system will recognize the DNA structure of that example. Sounds simple. Not too long ago, that would have been nearly impossible for a machine to have done that, and now it's done in a matter of seconds. A tremendous example of the kinds of technologies that are helping lead towards personalized medicine, towards whole new ways of saving lives. That's important. That's what makes HPC exciting to me.
You have another question for Alexa?
Oh, goodness.
Are you ready? Go ahead.
Okay, Alexa, what's a great party spot in Salt Lake City?
Ooh. I'm sorry, that does not compute.
Have you been to Austin?
Okay, it's still working.
Sorry, I didn't understand the question.
Yeah. Fair enough. Okay, well, let's talk a little bit about machine learning. That seems to be everything I'm, hearing about here. Big bandwagon. But Peter, Lillian, question for you. Is this just a flash? Because a couple years ago it was big data. Is this any different? Is this going to be just supplanted soon?
No.
Why?
Artificial intelligence, machine learning has been around for a long time. Deep neural networks has been around, forever and a day, back in the 70s, 60s when they started deriving these. And the difference is today, and why this isn't just a flash in the pan, is three things have happened recently that has enabled it to go make it a real reality for most people. First of all is the availability of data. Okay, so if you go back even 5-10 years ago, the availability of data to accurately teach a machine how to go recognize patterns didn't exist in volume, in bulk. And when you have things like everybody's got a cell phone, everybody's got refrigerators that talk to themselves, everybody's got Nest, everybody's got automated sprinkler systems. So there's just tons and tons of data that's being generated out there that didn't exist before. The second thing is the models that are being created today to go take those and create deep neural networks associated with them. The models and the accuracy is that much better than it was even just 5 years ago, even just more than 2 years ago. So the innovation is speeding up and getting faster. So you've got the models are more accurate, you've got the amount of data to be able to go teach them is more accurate. And the third thing is simply computational power, okay, and the ability to go drive these things, okay. You talk to PhDs at deep neural networks, they spent their entire lives researching and driving these things. It took them 6 months to go through and do one model to go figure out, oh, it didn't work. It's taken me another 6 months to go drive this. By having additional computational power coupled with the accuracy of the models and the ability to go to the data, you can now do these models in a day, in a half day, and actually go reformat them and go, that's not accurate enough, I'm going to go do more. And that's why it's not a flash in the pan, it's because it's just going to continue to grow and get faster.
Okay, go ahead, Dan.
It was big data, now that's over, now it's artificial intelligence. You can't have AI without BI or without big data. It's an evolution, and we're following along the path just as we should. Now that we have the big data, like you were saying, and we have that in our databases. Now it's time to apply the AI to it. So it's an evolution, not a difference. It's not an either or.
And if I might add to that, I think, we live in an interesting world where sort of new things have become the big topic, as our friends at Gartner, guys, talk about the hype cycle, and machine learning is, right at the pinnacle of the hype cycle right now. But I remember, a couple of years ago, the pinnacle of the hype cycle was cloud. And before that it was, or maybe the other way around, it was big data. If you're an old guy like me, go back into the 90s, it was, it was internet. Well, that was before that, it was grid, right? And so what naturally happens, I remember when grid was up there at the top of the hype cycle, and all of a sudden nobody talked about it anymore, but everybody was doing it. And it's exactly the same thing here. Big data is at the top of the hype cycle, but of course now everybody's doing it. And I think what's happening now is machine learning, in a way, is the new thing, but a year from now, 2 years from now, it is going to be absolutely pervasive, just like those other technologies are.
And I think another thing is we need to look at the societal effect of artificial intelligence, machine learning, deep learning, because it's really going to be profound. We saw the sort of human upheaval that happened when we moved from the agricultural age into the industrial age. Society changed, people's jobs changed, people's lives changed. And that's exactly what's happening now, and it's happening today. We're not at the age of science fiction and Skynet and all of those movies that we've seen. Yeah, thank God.
Yeah, thank you.
But we really are at the stage where a lot of the sort of boring tasks can be taken on by AIs, because AIs are at the level now where they can do things at least as well as human beings, if not better than human beings in certain classes, and much faster, and with much greater capacity. A simple example is something like looking at the Olympics, and you want to scan all of the logos that get displayed in the Olympics. Now, you could have an army of human beings watching all the video. They wouldn't capture it accurately, and they couldn't do it fast enough. But an AI can scan thousands of these things minute by minute, second by second, and if you've got new logos, you just teach it a new one, and off it goes. So it changes the way you do things, and it's going to affect every industry. We're seeing in medicine that we're not replacing doctors, but if we mention Watson, you can't buy a Watson, but you can sort of rent time on one. But you can scan so many medical records and so many research papers very fast that it helps doctors have more evidence to diagnose things more accurately. And we've got real life cases where that's happened. We're going to see the same thing in the legal thing, where you want to search for legal evidence. You have a team of paralegals, or do you just have an AI that can look through all of that stuff and then take it to the lawyers? Same with other industries. We've got all of this politics going on at the moment, talking about, why do we send all of our manufacturing overseas or whatever? Why don't we bring it back to the US? The trouble is, it's going to be automated by control of AI, so we're not necessarily going to be creating jobs, even if we bring the manufacturing back to the US, because a Chinese robot is the same as a US robot. They work 24/7, they both cost the same, so why ship it backwards and forwards? So that's going to affect us, it's going to affect China. It's really going to affect the way people work. But I think one of the questions as well, because I mentioned IBM Watson, is that people want to buy their AIs, to buy their systems, and they want to be able to have some control over it. And you can't do that with IBM, with Watson, but you can do it with the sort of systems that are coming out of other vendors. So my question is, if IBM has Watson, who's going to have Sherlock?
Oh. All right. Jim, you've been very patient here, listening to all this. We talked about the hype cycle and stuff. Now you've got this newly combined company with this confluence of all these technologies. How are you ready to answer this challenge that we just heard about?
Well, most of what we've been talking about the last couple of days are real-world proof points of bold promises made, bold promises kept. I think all of these gentlemen, and whether a partner or analyst, understand that last year we said at Dell we would disrupt, democratize, and mainstream HPC. Peter's examples were well on. What we're doing in partnership with Nvidia, what we're doing in partnership with Intel, Some real world examples like what we're doing with the University of Peking and some of the Cryon EM work, those are all real world examples of what we're doing. But in traditional Dell fashion, it's not just about what we've done for a couple of customers. There's some great innovative products. I'm not going to geek out on you and talk about 6320Ps and number of cores in them, but what we're able to do with something like that is bring to bear a combination of, if you're focused on life sciences, if you're focused on manufacturing, back to your example, or research, here is how you can get it done faster, more cost effectively. And the fun part is it wasn't all just done by us. It was done with this wonderful ecosystem. I can see a couple of partners in the audience, whether it's work that we've done with universities of Cambridge, Pisa, South Africa, TAC, San Diego. All of this is how we're collectively taking that computational firepower, now add on top of that great storage innovations like Isilon, like DSSD. We love the hand that we've been dealt, and we can't wait to get some of these solutions into the hands of customers, partners, innovators, and frankly, the folks who are going to help redefine what the next digital revolution looks like.